was stationed in the Navy on the destroyer, the USS Shore. I'm interviewing my grandfather, Virgil Manfra, 373, on December 7, 1941, the day Pearl Harbor was attacked by Japan. Can you please tell us the events as you remember them on that fateful day, December 7, 1941?
We were in a floating dry dock due to an accident at sea. We used to patrol for submarines for approximately 3 weeks from Diamond Head to Barbers Point looking for enemy subs. While on patrol out there, a tanker hit us while at sea and did considerable damage, and that's why we wound up in a floating dry dock called the New Orleans. While there, approximately 5 minutes to 8, I was ready to go to play tennis at AIA, a little recreation area, and one of the fellas hollered, "Hey, look at them Jap planes." And sure enough, we thought it was like maneuvers for the Air Force, but it turned otherwise. While the planes come in and went after Battleship Row, and one plane after the other kept torpedoing the battleships and knocked them out of commission. And when we saw the devastation, everybody said, get us any kind of arms that we could gather, because we were in floating dry dock and we used our heavy equipment. The recoil from the big guns could knock us off the blocks because we was in dry dock. So we weren't able to use our 5-inch guns. So everybody was assigned to various areas, and I went down below, and we were belting out 45 caliber machine gun bullets to be used for the Thompson machine guns. And after we'd load 2 or 3 discs, we went up topside, and while up there, I looked out by Battleship Row. In my own eyes, I saw the Oklahoma roll over. I knew this was no more maneuvers or games. It was serious. In the meantime, we were waiting for the commander or the man in charge, the admiral, to wait till we got reports from Washington to attack the enemy. Everybody did what they could, grabbing any kind of 50 caliber or whatever, and attack these planes. So while making 3 or 4 trips, going back to the magazine and bringing up these belts of ammunition, I came back down, and for some reason, one fellow was bringing up a load of these here while I was down below, and a bomb evidently hit. I don't recall because I didn't see whether it was the port or starboard side. Of flame shot down where me and my shipmate was belting this ammunition, and it was similar to being inside of a car muffler. It was a big flash of flames shooting down. So we knew we couldn't go aft because that's where the devastation was. So we ran forward, and when we went towards the bow, flames were coming up from the top. So my shipmate says, we've got to get out of here, regardless. We can't go forward, we can't go aft. So I, in time, figured the dry dock could have big holes, and we could have fell into it. We didn't know what was, because there was still approximately 4 to 6 feet of water in the steel dry dock. So I went hand for hand, about 40 feet, going to reach the other side of the dry dock. And while doing this, halfway across, planes would come over machine gunning. As I got to the beach, which was only the end of the dry dock, a chief was standing there, and he said to me, he said, "Hey, you're bleeding." I didn't feel any pain at that particular time, none whatsoever. He said, "You better get to the hospital." So I went to the hospital, and while there, I saw all kinds of bodies laying around who had sheets over them, who had limbs torn off, and I said, this ain't no place for me because I wasn't injured as far as pain or anything. I was mobile. So the nurse said, don't be so damn smart, and she grabbed a blob of jelly and smeared it on my face. From there, I went back to the ship, and I got myself as much ammunition, probably 5 belts of it, and a Browning automatic and a .45. And I figured if there was any confrontation with the enemy, at least I figured I had to take 20 or 25. Not being a hero, but I figured my life was worth getting rid of some of these parasites. That afternoon, there was still a lot of confusion, but no panic. Everybody was cool, but there was a lot of tension. That evening, I went on the receiving ship. There was a receiving station in Pearl, and I was told that if I wanted to volunteer, I could go on the roof under the command of a Army lieutenant. And me and my buddy Charlie, we stayed there. This fella I could trust. I figured if I could sleep for 2 or 3 hours, I could trust him that he would stay awake while I sleep. And sure enough, approximately about 11:30, I don't recall the exact hour, several planes flew over Pearl Harbor with their running lights on. We didn't know who they were, but we fired at them, and the lights went out, and they disappeared. Still to today, I do not know who they are. I was getting kind of restless. I wanted to get back to a destroyer. I knew the shore was sunk, so I volunteered. There was no other destroyers available, so I went on the cruise of the USS Honolulu. She had a slight damage, just a split seam, and I feel that within about 10 days she could get underway and go out at sea. And while assigned to the ship for approximately 4 days, I happened to go to the restroom, and over the loudspeaker they said, any former members attached to the USS Shore, please report to the quarterdeck. And who was it? As I reported there, was one of my old lieutenants, and he was really surprised to see me. And he took me aboard the Shore, which was still with the bow 1/3 practically off, and he said, come, I want you to see the skipper. And he laughed. He said, Virgil, we have to take you off the dead list. And we had a good laugh. In a short period of time, they put a false bow on the USS Shore. And the crew that we had that were there, we headed back to California, into Mare Island, and a new bow was being constructed. We lost approximately 29 killed, and the majority had some injury of some sort. I feel that losing these fellas, not to the extent that they died, but they were great fighters, and even during the injury and on their way out, they still wanted to fight. I believe that there are no heroes. Everybody was just doing their